Good morning students, myself Vishal Pandey. I hope you all doing well. So today we are going to start the Ryotwari system. What is Ryotwari system? We are going to discuss it in detail so that you can use it effectively in your examination. A different system of revenue collection called the Ryotwari system. What is it? What is it? A different system of revenue collection. So the Britishers used to collect the revenues by this system. It was introduced in the Madras and Bombay presidencies between 1792 and 1827. So this is the time of period when this Ryotwari system was introduced in India. So keep this in your mind. The middlemen or the jamidars were removed. As if you remember, in permanent settlement of Bengal, the jamidars were appointed to look after the revenue collection. But here, the jamidars were removed. The settlement was made directly between the company and the Rayat or the cultivator. Now, what is the meaning of Rayat? Rayat means the cultivator, or you can say the farmers. Instead of using jamidars to collect the revenue, because if you remember, jamidars became corrupt. So Britishers removed them, and company will direct collect the revenue from Rayat. Rayat means farmers, who paid the government about half the value of the crop. The revenue amount was revised after 20 or 30 years depending on the fertility of the soil. So the revenue will be collected on the fertility of the soil. Based on the fertility, keep this in your mind. If your soil is fertile, you have to pay more revenue. If it is infertile, then you have to pay less revenue. Revenue from more fertile areas were revised more frequently. If your field is fertile, you have to pay revenue more frequently, or we can say continuously. This system gave more security to the riots, but because of the rigidity of the revenue collection, farmers had to turn to money lenders during years when the crops failed. So ultimately, farmers were paying this revenue, those who were having fertile lands. So if you see the Mahalwari system, that what was Mahalwari system? Let us understand this as well. The Mahalwari system existed in parts of Uttar Pradesh, parts of central India, the northwest province, and parts of Punjab. So when it comes to Mahalwari system, Uttar Pradesh was leading one. Then central India, you talk about. Central India means which states, like Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Haryana, and many more. And northwest province, parts of Punjab and all. So in this system, the settlement was made between landlords or heads of families, claiming to represent the entire village, community, or group of village known as Mahal, and the government. So this type of revenue was practiced between the landlords and the settlement, which was made between landlords and head of families. So landlords and head of families were they were there to inculcate this Mahalwari system, to practice this Mahalwari system. The landlords or heads of family were jointly responsible for the payment of the revenue to the company. So company used to take the revenue from landlords as well as from the head of the family. Both of them were responsible for the revenue collection and to represent it before company. Here too the revenue was fixed for a period of 20-30 years, after which it was revised. So 20-30 years were fixed, and after that the revenue were revised. So Mahalwari system, basically it was famous in central India, and if you talk about the states, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, and many more states of central India. So this was Mahalwari system which came into the practice. And remember, in Mahalwari system, the landlords and the head of the village or head of the family were responsible to pay the revenue to the British Empire, or you can say the company, before the company. Now we will move forward to understand the impact of the revenue systems on the cultivator. That what was the impact of the revenue system on the cultivator? We are going to understand this. The new land revenue system introduced by British changed the face of agriculture and land ownership in India. So this revenue system will change the impact of India and its cultivator as well. So by this we can understand that how the different types of the certain different strategies were there to collect the revenue. Let us have certain points to understand this. First one is impoverishment of cultivators. Now what is impoverishment of cultivators? The revenue charged was so high it led to the impoverishment of the cultivators. They were driven into debt at the hands of the moneylenders or became landless laborers. So ultimately it says that the cultivators became debt. They were in very loss, or we can say they became landless by these types of revenues. Fragmentation of land holdings. As an increasing number of farmers found themselves unable to pay the revenue, they auctioned or sold off their land part by part. This led to the fragmentation and subdivision of land. Small land holdings are not economical to cultivate. इसमें ये कहा जा रहा है कि जो बड़े बड़े लैंड्स थे उनको फ्रेगमेंट करना यानी उनको छोटे छोटे पार्ट्स में करके वो बेच देते थे बिकॉज दे नीड मनी. वो बेच देते थे जिससे कि वो ज़्यादा क्रॉप प्रोडक्शन नहीं कर पाते थे और छोटे फील्ड में अच्छे क्रॉप्स नहीं कर सकते बिकॉज यू नीड अ लॉन्ग फील्ड ऑल टुगेदर. सो दिस वॉज ऑल्सो अ प्रॉब्लम. राइज ऑफ एब्सेंटी लैंडलॉर्ड्स. The land of farmers who were unable to pay the high tax to the highest bidder. The people who bought these lands were often rich traders from cities and towns. They rarely visited their farmland and had little or no interest in it. These absentee landlords were much harsher on the local farmers than the traditional jamidars. तो ये समझ लीजिए कि गांव में बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे थे जो लैंड ओनर्स थे, बहुत ज़्यादा फील्ड थी उनके पास, लेकिन वो शहर में रहते थे तो उनके गांव का जो पूरा फील्ड है वो फार्मर्स देखते थे. एंड व्हेन दे यूज्ड टू कम टू देयर विलेज वो बहुत ही हार्श थे, वो बहुत ही सड्यूस करते थे वहाँ के फार्मर्स को, बहुत ही ज़्यादा उन पे वो क्रूअल थे, हार्टलेस थे. तो ये सारी प्रॉब्लम्स भी होती थी उस समय. सो पीपल यूज टू फेस दीज प्रॉब्लम्स एज वेल. पीपल मीन्स द फार्मर्स, द पीजेंट्स. एंड द नेक्स्ट इज commercialization of agriculture. How agriculture people used to make it cash crops. By the help of cash crops they can gain some money altogether to grow. The cultivation of cash crops was encouraged by the government since it provided the raw material for industry. And company means Britishers were also demanding that cash crops should be produced. Like for example, if you talk about sugar cane, indigo, cotton, these are the cash crops. So though farmers were suffering, but they also want to produce cash crops so that they can gain the wealth, gain the property, gain the money for their livelihood. So I hope you understood this topic. Further we will continue in the next presentation. Take care. Bye bye.